Okay, so in the first exit theory number 1, we talked about what happened in the past bull markets. In exit theory number 2, we talked about the window of opportunity to take profits, and we realized that the window of opportunity to take profits is a very small window. In exit theory number 3, I want to talk about the Taifu 3-bucket system. When it is time to sell and take profits, we will use the Taifu 3-bucket system to help us understand how to divide our money and how to take profits correctly. In bucket number 1 is the long-term bucket. That's the HODL bucket that we're going to hold for long-term for more than 12 months. Okay, whenever you guys hear us talk about long-term, it's more than 12 months. Bucket number 2 is the cash bucket. This is also called the ammo bucket because this is the bucket that's going to hold the money for us so that we can have money to buy more coins in the next bear market and reload our portfolio. So in this bucket, we can hold cash, we can hold USDC stablecoin, we can hold the Paxos stablecoin, the Tether stablecoin, the Gemini dollar stablecoin, or the Binance USD stablecoin, or we can actually hold it in Bitcoin itself also. And then in bucket number 3 is the spending bucket, and that's the bucket that's going to pay for all our wining and dining, car repairs, water, electric, gas, utilities, our food, and our travel, our education, and pay for our meals. And so this is basically the living expense bucket. That's just a quick summary of what each bucket is for. Let's go into details of what each bucket is going to do. So in bucket number 1, the long-term bucket, this is also known as the HODL bucket, and this is the store of value bucket. It is highly recommended that 80 to 90% of this bucket will be Bitcoin and nothing else. 5 to 20% can be big cap quality altcoins like Ethereum or Cardano or maybe even a Polkadot or a Tezos. Usually they are big cap coins that have lots of money, big community, strong dev team, and they have the potential to survive a bear market. So 5 to 20%, no more than 20%. Ideally, we recommend 80 to 90% be Bitcoin. The reason is that when we hold altcoins, they may not survive the bear market. Bitcoin is the only one that has proven that in 6 market cycles, it is able to recover the crash and set new highs. And that's the reason why we want the majority of the long-term HODL bucket to be full of Bitcoin and not any other coins. So we hold altcoins that can survive a bear market like Ethereum, Cardano, Tezos, Polkadot, big name coins like that with big development teams and big money in their bank accounts and their wallets. Those are the coins that we want to hold. So for long-term HODL and likely never sell. So this bucket is just coins that we likely will never sell and we'll pass it on to our kids and our grandkids. Bitcoin has won the store of value use case in 2020. It officially became the store of value and won that use case when Michael Saylor announced that he bought over $400 million worth of Bitcoins to store the value of his company treasury. So that's when it officially became an official store of value. That's when everyone, including Elon Musk from the company Tesla, including myself and many other people, started pouring our money in to store our wealth and our value in Bitcoin. Before that, right, nobody knew for sure if Bitcoin was going to be a store of value. There was a lot of people that said, like guys like Tim Draper bought 30,000 Bitcoins to store the value, his wealth in Bitcoins or whatever. And I do not believe that because when he did that, he's just a much bigger trader than me or Leon. We don't consider that move where he bought 30,000 Bitcoins a store of value. The reason why we don't consider that is because he never opened his mouth and said that he bought those Bitcoins to store the value of his wealth. He said he bought those Bitcoins because he believes it will go up in value in the future. Whereas Michael Saylor from the company called MicroStrategy, he clearly stated publicly over and over and over that the reason why he took the money from his company treasury and put it into Bitcoin was to store the value of his money so that inflation would not eat away the US dollar. So that's why it became the official time when Bitcoin won the store of value use case in 2020. The other reason besides saying that he was using it to store value was because he put in over $400 million and then several months later he added more and added more and added more until it became several billions of dollars. So when somebody puts several billions of dollars into Bitcoin and they say that they are doing it to store the value of their wealth and their money, then that's when we can officially say that Bitcoin has won the store of value use case. Before that, anybody who bought 30,000 Bitcoins at a time from the US government that was seized from the Silk Road bus, I would not consider that a store of value use case. It wasn't until Michael Saylor came along and put a big chunk of his company money and his personal wealth into Bitcoin, that's when we can all agree that it was the official time when it won the store of value use case. Now, the advantages of storing our value or wealth in Bitcoin is that we can lend Bitcoin to earn an interest. We can use Bitcoin as collateral for loans, and we can access our crypto profits with lower taxes via Bitcoin-backed loans. And that's why we want the majority of our long-term HODL bucket to be full of Bitcoins and no other coins. In bucket number 2 is the cash bucket. This is also known as the ammo bucket. We are going to try to keep 10 to 20% of our portfolio all-time high in the cash bucket or the ammo bucket. So for example, at the peak of the bull market, if my portfolio hit $1 million, then I want at least $200,000 in the cash bucket at all times, or the ammo bucket at all times. So I take the $1 million times 20% of the all-time high, which was $1 million, and that equals 200,000. So I put 200,000 here. Now, if you don't like that idea, right, keep at least 10%. So what I do and what our team does is that we keep 20% of our portfolio in the cash bucket for special occasions, and we will use it to buy different coins during the bear market. And then if it ever drops below 10%, then we look to replenish it or refill it. But we always try to keep at least 10% in the ammo bucket, so we always have ammo to fire and take advantage of opportunities that exist in the bull market. 80 to 100% local fiat is what we keep in here. So if you're in the US, you might want to keep the US dollar. If you're in the EU, you want to keep the euro. Or in the UK, you want to keep the British pound. And if you're in Vietnam, you want to keep VND in there. If needed, use USA stablecoins. For example, the USDC is registered in the US and is regulated in the US. The Paxos token is also regulated in the US, and also the BUSD is also regulated in the US. Even though it's Binance, it's actually issued by a US regulated company. Make sure that you guys use a stablecoin, use ones that are USA based stablecoins, because they have heavier financial restrictions and regulations that can protect us a lot more. The fiat or stablecoins are better, but 10 to 20% Bitcoins are okay. So if you don't want to keep fiat or stable coins in this cash bucket or this ammo bucket, then you can keep 10 to 20% worth of Bitcoins in there, and that's okay too. So now you would have 2 buckets full of Bitcoin. You would have a 20% bucket of Bitcoin in the long-term HODL bucket, and then you'd have another 20% of your portfolio in the ammo bucket here, full of Bitcoins as well. The absolute minimum is 10% of the portfolio all-time high. So if your portfolio all-time high was $1 million, like I said, you want to keep at least 100,000 in this bucket all time, because you never know what opportunities come up in the market, and you need that money to jump on that opportunity or to take advantage of that opportunity. Use this ammo or cash bucket to buy back more BTC and altcoins to reload your portfolio after a 60 to 90% market crash. So when the market crashes 60 to 90%, then we'll use money from this ammo bucket or this cash bucket to buy more coins and refill and reload our portfolio. So I want to talk about what is the Taifu 90-90 rule. Plan for all coins to crash 90% in a bear market. So let's talk about the Taifu 90-90 rule. So the Taifu 90-90 rule means that we recommend that you plan for all coins to crash 90% in a bear market. Like, just expect all coins, every coin on the market to crash 90% during a bear market. Plan for the fact that 90% of the coins will die and never recover and get back on their feet again in a bull market. So just think about that. The coins that we see today in a bull market will crash 90%, and 90% of them will never recover and get back on their feet again. They will die out, and nobody will ever hear about them again or talk about them again. So plan for that. Okay, that's the Taifu 90-90 rule. So if we know that 90% of the coins are going to crash, 90%, and 90% of them are never going to recover, again, what should we do? We got to make sure we have enough money in the ammo bucket to buy up the coins that are on sale. We don't know if the coins that we buy is part of the 90% that's going to die forever, or part of the 10% that's going to recover and make new highs. So we don't know that. So we have to have enough money in the ammo bucket so that we can go shopping and buy up those coins that crash 90%, and then put a small bet on each one of them that we like. that meets the criteria in the VC Man method that have a high score. So it's good to have cash for special market opportunities. For example, like the COVID crash, right? We bought some Bitcoins during the COVID crash and it went back up. It crashed like 30, 40, 50%. I can't remember. But whatever the crash was, it happened very quick. And the people that jumped in and bought Bitcoins during that time, or any coin during that time, they pretty much instantly made 10, 20, 30% on their money within just 1 or 2 or 3 days, or 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. We also have occasions where Elon Musk will tweet something about a coin, and either it will crash the market and we can jump in and buy it for a 10, 20, 30% discount, or when China bans a coin, there will be a market crash. So we need money in the ammo bucket to jump in and buy those coins when they're on sale for 20, 30% off the regular market price. In February of 2021, the Wall Street Bets forum on Reddit started pumping, had success pumping a stock called GameStop in America. So when they did that, that was successful and they made a bunch of money. Rumors started to circulate on their forum that they should pump the price of Doge. And so what happened was I heard that and I saw that, and our team saw that, the students that we were coaching saw that. So we all decided to get in on the Dogecoin pump by the Wall Street Bets forum group. And because of that, I was able to take money held inside my ammo bucket and I was able to jump on that. And I made like 1.5 million, I think, on that trade. And so that's my record trade in 30 hours. I would say in one day, but it took me 30 hours to get in and get out of the trade. So I can't say one day, to say like 30 hours. So that's the most money I ever made in 30 hours, was 1.5 million. It was not all mine. Only like 785,000 of it was mine. And then the rest belonged to my clients in Vietnam. And then if you take the performance fee or the commissions that I got paid for making that money for my clients in Vietnam, if you add that to the 785,000 that I made, it was over $1 million. And that was how I was able to buy my $1 million condo in downtown Bangkok on the riverfront next to the most luxurious shopping mall in Southeast Asia called Icon Siam. So if you guys ever go shopping there in Bangkok, make sure you give me a ring to see if I'm next door. If I am, I will meet you there and we can have lunch or have a coffee together, share what we have learned in the crypto markets. These Dogecoin pumps will happen like 2 to 3 times each month. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a pump. It could be a tweet from Elon Musk. It could be a crash from COVID. It could be a ban from China. Something crazy like this will happen 2 to 3 times a month, almost every month in the markets. The problem is that we are never there all the time in front of the computers to take advantage of these opportunities. So because of that, we want to have enough money in the ammo bucket so when these things do happen and we happen to be in front of the computer, we can take advantage of it. So the way that I do it is that I will have money in the ammo bucket sitting there waiting, and then I will wait for these opportunities. If I miss it, I do not sweat it. I do not worry about it. I do not stress over it, right? Because I know there's at least 2 opportunities every month. So that's 24 opportunities in a year. 2 times 12 months is 24 opportunities in a year. And my goal is to capture 2 of them. That's it. In 1 year, if I can capture 2 short-term opportunities, that will make me enough money to pay for my living expenses for several years. So because of that, I'm not in no rush. Done it consistently every year. Like in 2020, I hit big on the COVID crash. There was other ones, but that was the main one that I profited from. And then in 2021, I had a big profit from the Dogecoin pump from the Wall Street Bets forum group. After Dogecoin pump, there was a pump of the Shiba Inu, which is a similar meme coin to Dogecoin. And there was rumors that it was going to the moon, or the community started getting behind it. So this is another opportunity. I saw the volume. It was the exact same setup as the Dogecoin pump in Q1 of 2021. I'm sharing this in the video, and some of you guys are going to hear this and you're going to get mad because I didn't share with you guys about Shiba in the private group chat. I share everything I do. I don't hide nothing. However, when the Shiba Robinhood listing pump happened, or is going to happen, it's a very critical time with our students in a private chat group. And at that time, we are just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks away from selling and taking profits. So I cannot be irresponsible and tell my students to go out there and buy Shiba when we are getting ready to take profits. I cannot do that. I have enough money to do that. And if I lose everything on the Shiba, it's not going to hurt me anything. I'm not going to blink an eye. I'm not going to lose any sleep. I'm not going to lose any of that. I won't even notice it in my account. However, for my students that are in the private group coaching, I cannot afford to mention any coins in the private group coaching because that is going to hurt them, especially our Vietnamese students. We have a ton of successful Vietnamese students that have made life-changing profits. And I don't want to do anything or say anything in our private group coaching that is going to distract them from taking profits correctly and making a massive change in their life. So please do not ask me about Shiba. Please do not get upset with me because I didn't mention it. Don't mention anything, because the benefit of our students making life-changing profits with their current portfolio is so important that we cannot take the risk of mentioning Shiba or any other opportunities during a moment when we are focused on taking profits. So I just want to share it with you. I'm bringing it up in this recording, in this video, because I want the future traders to know why I did it and why I didn't bring it up, and then why I'm bringing it up now. The reason why I'm sharing it now in this video is I want you guys to know that you don't have to chase, you don't have to be in a rush, you don't, just be patient, have money in your cash bucket and your ammo bucket ready to go, and the opportunities will come. I'm telling you, there's at least 2 opportunities every month throughout the year in crypto, in stocks, in every market. You're just going to have ammo waiting, and all you have to do is capture 1 or 2 or 3 of those opportunities, and you're set for the whole year. You will not capture every opportunity, and you do not need to capture every opportunity. All you need is 2 or 3 opportunities that falls in your lap, and you take advantage of it, and you're good to go. The third bucket is the spending bucket. It's also known as the living expenses bucket. 100% local fiat, such as the US dollar, the euro, the pound, the Vietnamese dong, or the Thai baht needs to go into this spending bucket, because that's what you need to use to pay for your living expenses. Like, you live in the US, you're not going to be able to pay for your food with Bitcoin. Like, some people tell you yes and all that stuff, but the reality is just pay for it with US dollars. Or if you're in the EU, just pay for it with the euros. And if you're in Vietnam or Thailand, just pay for it with the dong and the Thai baht respectively. So don't waste your time trying to pay for it with Bitcoin, all the other nonsense, okay? You don't want Bitcoins in this bucket. You don't want stable coins in this bucket either. You want to put the currency, the local currency that you actually use to pay for your bills and your living expenses in this bucket. Use this money in the spending bucket for monthly living expenses while we wait for the next bull market. So for example, the longest market cycle has been around 4 years. So try to put away 2 market cycles when possible. That means that I want to keep at least 8 years worth of living expenses in my spending bucket. If that's not possible, you might want to consider relocating to a country with a lower cost of living. I'll use myself as an example. When I first retired, I needed $50,000 a year for a family of 4. That's me, my wife, and 2 kids. So we need $50,000 a year. If I put away $100,000, I can live for 2 years. If I put away $200,000, then I can live for 4 years. But by relocating to Thailand or to Vietnam, my living expenses got cut in half. So now, instead of having 4 years worth of runway or 4 years worth of living expenses, I now have 8 years worth of living expenses. You put away 10 years worth of living expenses in America, you can easily move to Southeast Asia and live here. I think that the quality of life is much better for me personally, living in Asia compared to living in America. So because of that, I like it more over here and I get more value for my money. I'll give you guys an example. When I'm in America, I do not have maids and servants working in the house. So when I'm in Asia, I can afford to have maids and servants helping me in the house so I can focus on research and trading full time. And then in my spare time, then I can spend that time with my wife and kids instead of worrying about stuff around the house that I need to do. So that's something for you guys to consider. If you have more questions about it, or how it can benefit you to relocate to a different country, you're welcome to give me a call and we can discuss it. So the money in this bucket will help you quit your day job. That's how Leon and I and the rest of my team quit our day job. We put enough money into the spending bucket so that we have multiple years of living expenses, and that allowed us to be able to do it without going back to work. Once you have 8 years or 10 years or 20 years worth of living expenses in your spending bucket, there's really no reason to be working your day job anymore unless you just like that job. Like, for example, if I was smart enough to work at SpaceX and building rockets and rocket engines and stuff like that, I would probably not quit that because I have a mechanical engineering mindset. So I love working on stuff like that. So even if I was not getting paid, I'd probably still work there for free anyway, just because I like working around crazy mechanical engineering stuff like that. For example, like if I had a chance to work at building nuclear submarines or hovercrafts or hydrofoils or things like that, I would work on it for free, even if they didn't pay me, simply because I like working on stuff like that. Number 6 here is the money that's in the spending bucket is also used to fulfill all the items on your list of personal financial goals. So that's why I keep saying that it's important to have that list so that you know how much money you need to put into the spending bucket to fulfill those personal financial goals. If you don't have that number, it's going to be hard to fill up this bucket because you don't know how much to fill it up with. So here's some examples of the Typhoon 3 bucket system for the portfolio sizes and how much I put into each bucket. This is a general guideline. You can adjust the numbers up and down slightly, but I would not recommend that you adjust it too far because everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, but most of our team members have gone through every one of these portfolio sizes. So these are the amounts that we have found that works fairly well for our team members. So it should work well for you, but if it doesn't, you're welcome to adjust it. But I wouldn't adjust it too far though. The dollar amounts and the percentages shown above are just, like I said, starting points or just guidelines. You can adjust them. You can adjust them according to your personal financial goals. The portfolio size levels are created using the 3X rule, so it is easy to remember. It is a guide only and not a set rule. So if you notice the portfolio size in the first column on the left, right, we have a less than 300,000 portfolio, we have a 1 million, we have a 3 million and a 9 million. If we use the rule of 3 or the 3X rule, it's 300,000 times 3, which is 900,000, so we just round it off to 1 million, just so it's easy to do the math. If you have less than a 300,000 portfolio, what we want to do is we want to keep about 20% in the HODL bucket, so 300,000 times 20% is 60,000, so that goes into the HODL bucket. And that money is probably never going to be touched. It's always going to stay there and keep growing for us. Some of you guys might say, hey, Ty, why don't we cash it out? And then during the bull market, let's say in 2017, we sell the Bitcoins at $20,000, wait for it to crash to 3,000, and then we buy it back and then have more Bitcoins. Well, that sounds good in theory. But the problem is that if we sell it, there we have 0% in the HODL bucket. What happens if after we sell it at 20,000, and the market crashes down to 15,000 and then goes back up to 50,000 or $100,000 Bitcoins? What are you going to do? So you miss out on that move. We always want to be on the move when we are right. So you never want to take the risk and be right on that coin or that stock, and then it finally moves big in your favor and you're making a ton of money, but you're not on board because you sold everything already. So that's the reason why we never sell 100%. The only time we sell 100% of that coin is when we know for sure that this is just a short-term deal or just a joke. So for example, when I sold 100% of my Dogecoin from the Wall Street Bets trade, the reason why I sold 100% of it is because that was a complete joke. There's no way that I'm going to keep $1.5 million in a joke. As soon as I made it, I got out of it. You want to keep that in mind. Now, if that was Bitcoin or something, that would be a lot different. If that was Ethereum, that would be different. If that was Cardano, that would be different. But I'm not going to keep money in a joke. I'm not going to keep $1 million in a joke. So as soon as I make it, I'm going to take profits on it. I say that because at the same time that I made that money, I also needed a condo in Bangkok, and I needed to take profits from somewhere. So out of all the coins that I held, Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, all these important high value coins, where am I going to pull $1 million out from? So when I look at my list of the coins I was holding, Dogecoin was the easiest one for me. Like, am I going to keep $1 million in Dogecoin or keep $1 million in a luxury condo on the riverfront in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in downtown Bangkok? I think that's a very easy choice. I'm going to put that money into condo in Bangkok instead. That's why I pulled it out of there. 20% goes into the HODL bucket, and then 60% goes into the ammo bucket for the bear market. Out of 300,000, I would put 60%, which is $180,000, into the ammo bucket, and then 20% into the spending bucket. Now, I want you guys to notice that in this $300,000 portfolio, we put a big sum, 60% in the ammo bucket. If you look down below it, in the next row, below the 180,000, you notice that it's only 20%, 20%, and 20% for the $1 million, $3 million, and $9 million portfolio, respectively. The reason is because when you have a small portfolio like that, you need to concentrate all your money into growing it. You shouldn't be focused on spending it. And that's the reason why we have less money in the spending bucket and more money in the ammo bucket, so you have it ready to buy some low-cost coins when the market crashes. So that's the only time we focus more money into the ammo bucket, okay, is when we don't have enough money to retire yet. I'm saying that for Westerners, okay, for Western traders and investors. If you happen to be from Thailand or Vietnam, $300,000 is plenty of money for you to retire off. You can put $200,000 of that into a Vietnamese bank account and earn 5 to 7% interest on it and live off of that easily in Vietnam and retire and quit your day job. If you're from Vietnam, just understand that I'm saying this for most Westerners. If you happen to be in Vietnam and 300,000 is enough for you to retire, then you can use the same approach as the $1 million and the $3 million and the $9 million portfolio and only keep 20% in your ammo bucket. In the next row, if you have around $1 million in your portfolio, I would keep about 100,000 in your HODL bucket and then 20% in the ammo bucket and then 70% in the spending bucket. Now, if you notice this is where we put a smaller amount in the HODL bucket, and you might say, why, Ty? Why at $1 million would you put less in the HODL bucket and more in the spending bucket? The reason why I did this is because right around $1 million, there's enough money in there for most people to quit their day jobs in the Western countries. If we put that money into the spending bucket, then the people can quit. So let's say for $50,000 a year, you can quit your day job. So $50,000 a year times 10 years, that's $500,000. So if we have $700,000, you can easily quit your day job for 10 years and wait for the next bull market. That's the reason why at this stage, you can be in a position where you are semi-retired or retired fully. So because of that, that's why I put less in the HODL bucket and more in the spending bucket so that you can have early retirement. When you get to a $3 million portfolio, then it goes back to the standard, which is 20% in the HODL bucket, 20% in the ammo bucket, and then 60% in the spending bucket. And then that goes the same for anything that's 9 million or above. Now, once you get past 9 million, then there's other things that we got to do. So whenever you guys get to that point, just give us a holler. And when I say that, I'm talking about like you really need to start planning to set up your family office or some type of trust or some type of fund so that you can preserve your wealth and pass it on to the next generation. Because once you start getting past $9 million, at that point, I don't see how you're going to be able to spend all that money in a lifetime. So that's just the people who follow us are financially conservative. They don't just go spending money just because they have money. For example, like at this moment, I know like over 6 students that we have are DECA millionaires. That means they have made over $10 million in profit already. And none of them have bought a new house. None of them have bought a new car. None of them have bought Lambos, Ferraris, Rolex watches, or anything. Matter of fact, when you talk to them and you see them, they're still the exact same people. At least I think 3 of our students have become double DECA millionaires, which means they have made over $20 million already. And this is what they have told me. On 1 or 2 of them, I've actually seen their accounts. So I know it's true and they're not lying to me or telling me stuff that's not true. Even with our double DECA millionaire students, none of them have bought new cars. None of them have bought new houses. None of them have bought new Rolex watches or anything. When you talk to them and you meet them in person, they are still the same person wearing the same clothes, but they are financially free now. Many of them have quit their day jobs and are planning out what they want to do with the rest of their life. But when you look at them from the outside, you would never know that they are DECA millionaires or double DECA millionaires, okay? I want you to be aware of that. It sounds good in theory, but if you are following our channel and following our cryptocurrency investing blueprint, more than likely you share the same values in life that our team does. That's why you were attracted to learn from us. If you are sharing the same values with us, I can tell you that none of us have bought a supercar. None of us have done any of those crazy stuff that we always talked about and dreamed of. Our values are in a different place. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys reach this level of wealth where you make $1 million or $3 million or $9 million in your careers or in your journey, you end up being financially conservative just like we are. If you didn't share the same values as we do, you probably would not be following us, and you probably would not have invested in the cryptocurrency investing blueprint from us. So here's some notes I want to share with you guys about the 3-bucket system and just answer some questions for everyone that we commonly get. Can I sell 100% of the crypto into USD or stablecoin when I take profits and wait for a 90% crash and then buy all the coins back? Why do I need to hold 20% in Bitcoin and suffer a 90% crash for? And the answer is that I want you guys to consider what happens if you sell 100% of your coin and the market goes up another 10x. What happens if you sell 100% of your coins and it does not crash 90% and you cannot get back in? So for example, you sell your Bitcoins at 20,000 and you say, I'm waiting for it to crash 90% down to like $2,000 or $1,000 and I'll buy back in. What happens if it never crashes down to $1,000 or $2,000? How are you going to buy back in? You already missed the move. What happens if Bitcoin crashes 10% and then it goes up another 10x. Then you miss the move. So because of that, to eliminate the emotional pain of regret, we always keep 10 to 20% of the coin behind, the high quality coins. If you sell 100%, how much taxes will you owe? Is it worth it? In the US, the taxes can be as high as 23.8% for federal taxes and 55% for California state taxes. So is that worth it for you? So I want you guys to think about this. If I have $100,000 worth of Bitcoins and I sell 100% of it, and I take it out into 100,000 US dollars, and I wait for the market to crash 90%, and I'm going to buy back in, I want you guys to remember that when I sell that $100,000, I owe taxes on it. More than likely, I'm going to be in the highest tax bracket in America, which is 23.8% for federal taxes. So right away, I just lost $23,800 out of that $100,000 profit that I just took out. And if I'm in California, I just lost 55%, which is 55,000. So now all I have is 45,000 left. And if the market crashes 80 or 90%, how am I going to buy back $100,000 worth of Bitcoins when I just gave the government a quarter or half of my money? Let's say that the market only crashes 50% and I want to get back in. If the market crashes 50% and I'm just going to buy back in, then there's really no point in doing all that work to sell $100,000 worth of Bitcoins, and then it crashes 50% and I buy back in with only $45,000 that I have left. If I am a California resident, I only have $45,000 left to buy back in. You really are not ahead. So you got to take these things into account when you sell. If you're in Vietnam right now where they do not tax crypto because crypto is not recognized as an asset, so the government cannot tax it right now, the government cannot give you protection in courts either if you get scammed or you get sued by someone either over crypto. Because of that, they cannot collect taxes on it. You might say, hey, Ty, I live in a country where I don't have to pay taxes on crypto, so why should I worry about this, about the taxes that you're talking about? The reason why I say you should still worry about it is because the countries are not stupid. Crypto is a new asset class, so they may not tax it now or tomorrow or next year or the year after that. But can you imagine that they go for 5, 10, 20 years and not tax people on crypto profits? That's not going to happen, guys. Okay? Eventually, every country is going to have the laws to tax crypto in some way. And so you might as well practice doing it correctly now based on how your country would tax you on it. And then you are ready. If they come out with the tax laws next year or 2 years or 5 years later, you already know how to trade and invest your money according to the tax laws in your country. If you don't practice it now, you will not know how to do it correctly when the time comes. And keep in mind, guys, over a large sample size, that means that over a large number of trades, the number of losses will be higher than the number of wins. So if I decide that, hey, I'm going to sell Bitcoins at the top and get out and then get back in when it crashes, if I do that 100 times, if I do it one time, I might be successful at it and it looks good. But if I do it over 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, over a large frequency of trades, over a large sample size, I will start to realize that it does not matter. The benefit is not there, guys. And if you plan on doing this for a long term, over decades, years and decades, then there's no reason to think about that, because over the long term, it will not matter. Over a large sample size, that will not matter. Notice that we put 70% into the spending bucket when we have a $1 million portfolio. We do this because it is a portfolio size that can allow us to retire early, like I mentioned earlier. So we need more money to pay for living expenses. We often call that the runway. Be aware of that. That's the only time that we only have 10% in the HODL bucket. Most of the time, we want to keep at least 20% in there. That's the default in the ammo bucket and 20% in the HODL bucket. In countries with capital controls and you cannot easily send money outside the country, like Vietnam and Thailand, you might consider taking profits into a stable coin and then sell it for a local currency later and gain an extra 5 to 20% from the markup. Capital controls means that you cannot send money outside the country without asking permission from the government. So in America, I can send money outside the country without asking the government's permission or the bank's permission. I just go online, get the bank account number of who I want to send it to, and I just send it to them. But in Vietnam and Thailand, you have to do paperwork, explain the reason why you're sending money outside the country before they give you permission to send the money out. So that's called capital controls, because they control your capital. In a country that has capital controls, there's always a markup on the price of USDT, on the price of Bitcoin, and the price of Ethereum. So, for example, if I take profits in America and I sell $100,000 worth of crypto and I have 100,000 US dollars, then that's all I get is 100,000 US dollars. But in Vietnam and Thailand, I can sell that $100,000 into a stable coin like USDT, and I can hold that USDT and wait until there's a spike in price, a volatility in the markets, and everyone FOMOs in and tries to buy the coin. At that time, the markup on the coin can go from 5% to as high as 10%, 15%, or even 20%. So because of that, I can sell and take profits and just hold the money there. If I don't need it right away, I can just hold it there in a stable coin and wait until there's volatility in the markets, and then convert my USDT into the local currency, which is the Vietnamese dong or the Thai baht, and I would gain an extra 10% extra on it. So it's like making an extra 10% profit just by waiting for volatility in the markets. And if you're in crypto, you know that it's volatile very frequent. So it's not like you have to wait very long. Just a few weeks or a few months, a couple of months, and that's all you need to wait. And you make an extra 5, 10, 15, 20% on your money. So just be aware of that. The more life-changing profits you make, the less you will put into the spending bucket due to taxes and the marginal utility of money. Once you start making enough money to where you have 20 years of runway, 30 years of runway, 50 years of runway in your spending bucket, then there's a point, and it's somewhere in the Western countries, especially in America, it's somewhere around $5 million. So once you start getting to where you have $5 million in your spending bucket, even if it's only enough for 20 years or 30 years, you're really not going to use it all, because you're going to put most of that money into some preferred stocks and earn interest off of it, or earn dividends off of it, and then you put it into some really conservative bonds or municipal bonds or government bonds, and you get a really tiny percentage interest off of it. However, the interest on it, even though it's small, it's still a lot of money, because if you think about it, 1% interest on $1 million is still 10,000. So 1% interest on $5 million is 10,000 times 5, which is $50,000. So if you get a 2% interest on that $5 million that you have in the bank or in the spending bucket, that's $100,000 a year income. And if you have $100,000 a year income, you can live very comfortably for the next 20, 30 years and never dig into the principal. On our team, the team members that put away $5 million, they still collect enough interest every year to where they never even touch the principal. So that's something that we're very proud of on our team, is that every bull market, whatever profits that we take out, we rarely ever spend all of it by the next bull market. So we just live off the interest. So our team members that live in the US, they live off of the preferred stocks, the dividend payments, and the bond interest payments, and they never have to touch the initial principal that they put in, that they took out and put into their spending bucket. Now, for our students and our team members that are outside the US, what they do is they do a lot of staking, because they're not under the same tax structure or the tax consequences as in the US. So because of that, we're able to live off of the staking interest and the DeFi interest payments and the lending payments that we lend out. So because of that, we still do not touch our original principal. So that's something that our team is very proud of, is that in each bull market, we rarely ever dig into or spend our initial principal. We just live off the interest payments off of our money. The other thing too is that once you get to a certain point where you can eat whatever you want, wear whatever you want, and drive whatever you want, and live in the house that you want or the condo that you want, there's really nothing else to spend money on, guys. Like, you can go on vacations and stuff like that, but even then, that's not a lot of money. Or if you go on road trips, or you decide to travel around the world, because all your bills are paid and you have no debt, there's not a lot of expenses. So at first, it seems like you would need a lot of money in your spending bucket, but the reality is you don't need that much money, because you're not in debt, you don't have payments, and everything's taken care of, and you're living off your interest. And while you're traveling, you're not spending that much money, because you're exploring, you're looking at different things, you're not buying and accumulating a lot of junk in your house or your residence. So because of that, you're actually not spending a lot of money. You're traveling for the experience. So because of that, the marginal utility of money diminishes. And like right now, whether I make more money or not is not going to matter. So for example, when I took out that $1 million from the Dogecoin trade to buy my luxury condo in downtown Bangkok, I could have left that money in the bull market and make another 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x from it. But the reality is, even if I make a 5x from it it will not increase the quality of my life. However, buying $1 million condo at that moment increases the quality of my life massively. So because of that, I needed more space. I needed privacy. I needed an office so I can trade. I have 4 kids now and they're screaming, yelling at me all the time. And I need a bigger condo. I'm stuck in Bangkok because of the COVID pandemic. So all these things, the only way that I was going to solve all those problems and increase the quality of my life was to buy a bigger condo. And if I'm going to buy a bigger condo, I'm going to buy it in the area that I want to live, which is on the riverfront, in front of the Chao Phraya River in downtown Bangkok, next to the most luxurious shopping mall in Southeast Asia. So I invested that $1 million into the condo because it improved the quality of my life. But most of the time, making more money will not increase the quality of your life after a certain point. The more life-changing profits you make, the more money you will put into the HODL bucket to preserve and protect your wealth for the future generations. Do not go on a shopping spree and lose all your money when you take profits. So don't go crazy. The only thing that I bought when I've retired was I bought my wife a brand new 2018 Toyota Camry because when she first moved in with me, when we were dating as boyfriends and girlfriends, when she first moved in with me, I asked her to sell her car so that we can save money so I can focus my money into my trading account and grow my trading account. I told her not to do a wedding so we can save that money so we can focus to grow my trading account because I did not have a lot of money after having 3 heart attacks at that time. Because of that, she trusted me and listened to me. So when I retired, I had enough money. I told her that when I become a millionaire someday, I'll buy her a brand new Toyota Camry. So when I became a millionaire and retired, I did go out and buy her a brand new Camry. I even asked her if she wanted a Lexus. We both looked at the Lexus and the Camry and we couldn't tell the difference. Neither one of us are big car fans. Neither one of us are good at cars or identifying cars. So you can take the logo off one car and tell us it's a Mercedes and we'll probably believe you. So we're not really big into cars. We looked at the 2018 Lexus and the 2018 Camry, and many of you guys will be able to see the difference between the 2 cars. But for me and my wife, we could not see the difference. Like other than a few shiny parts inside the car, we really could not tell the difference between the Lexus and the Camry. So we decided to just get the Camry. But there was no point in paying extra money for something that we didn't see the value in. I say that, and you guys might say, Ty, there's a big difference between a Toyota Lexus and a Camry, you know. Yeah, it's a big difference for your eyes. Like, I really don't care about cars. To me, all the cars look the same. The only cars that look different is like a supercar, like a Ferrari or a Lambo. They look different from a regular car, but other than that, all the cars look the same to me. And then among the supercars, they all look the same to me too. That's just me. My eyes cannot tell the difference too much between cars. Like my older brother can. When a car comes down the street at night on the highway, he can look at the headlights and tell you what kind of car it is. But for me, I'm not a big car fan. You need to find a way to lock up your spending bucket money for at least a year so your mind can adjust to the new level of wealth. Your money and your mind cannot be too far apart, guys. When we grow up, we have our mind is at a certain level, our wealth is at a certain level. And when our money increases, it increases our mindset. So let's say that you have $1,000 or you make $1,000 or your net worth is $1,000. Then your mindset is at $1,000. It may be at $10,000 or $5,000, but it's not going to be too far from that. If you have only $1,000 to your name and that's the most money you ever made or ever had in your life, there's no way you are going to have $1 million mindset, no matter how many people tell you to dream big, think big, or any of that. The only way that you're going to have $1 million mindset is if you actually come close to making $1 million. That's how you have $1 million mindset. Otherwise, you can dream and fantasize and talk a big talk and have a positive mindset all you want and all that stuff, but the reality is you're not going to get it. So what happens is the profits in crypto are life-changing. So when you first make it, you're not going to get used to it. You're not going to be accustomed to it. So most people, they go to work, they make a nice income in America. A $50,000 salary is a middle-class income. If you make like $150,000 or $200,000 income, that's a upper middle class or high class income. For some people like that, having a $200,000, $500,000, they can imagine that, and they're not going to go and do something crazy with that. If someone is making only $150,000 a year or only has $100,000 in their bank account, and all of a sudden now they have $5 million, there's going to be some problems, guys. Every one of our students, including everyone on our team, has run into the same problem when the money outruns our mindset. I highly recommend that if you make a big sum of money, and when I say what is considered a big sum of money, if you make anything that's 3 times the biggest amount of money you ever made in your life or ever had in your life, so let's say that your income is $100,000 a year income, but your house is worth $300,000. So go off of, use the number of your house instead of your income. So your house is $300,000, multiply that by 3 times, so that's $900,000. So if you make $900,000 or more in a bull market and you take profits on $900,000, I highly recommend that you figure out a way to put it into a 1-year bond or a 1-year, lock it up in a 1-year savings account so that you give your mind time to catch up with your money. No matter what you think, no matter what you say, no matter what you believe, your mind cannot catch up that quick to having that kind of money in your life. And so what happens is when your mind is not prepared to have that kind of money in your life, what it does is the natural thing it does is it squanders it, it gives it away, and it finds a reason to use it and get rid of it so that it's in balance with your mind. So that what happens is you'll have that 900,000 and you'll do whatever it takes to squander it and use it and blow it away and give it away or throw it away or lose it until you only have about 300,000 left, because that's where your mind is comfortable at. So that's where it finds balance and equilibrium, and that's what's going to happen, and you don't want to do that. So you know that's going to happen. It happened to Ty and everyone on his team. It happened to every one of his students that made it this far. You're not special. You're not going to be someone that is going to be able to outrun that problem. So because of that, I highly recommend that you prepare for it and put it into some bonds or a saving account and lock it up for a year before you touch it. Do not try to do charity in the first year and put money into the hands of people that do not know how to handle, manage, save, invest, or take care of money. Do not do that. Do not do that, guys. No matter how much your family, your friends, and everyone is struggling, you put that money away for at least a year. Do not try to do any charity. Do not try to help somebody, because your mind is not ready to do that. Your mind and your money has to be in equilibrium. It has to match each other. One cannot outshine the other. If you only have a $300,000 house and now you have $900,000 or $1 million or $3 million worth of money of profits, your mind cannot catch up quick enough. You got to give yourself time for your mind to catch up with your money. Do not go on a spending spree and try to help friends, family, relatives, coworkers. Don't do none of that stupid nonsense, okay? It's all going to hurt you and you're going to lose everything. You might say, hey, Ty, isn't that being selfish? No, you're not. You're protecting it so you can help your friends, family, and relatives and coworkers. If you lose all that money, you cannot help them. And they're not starving. They're not dying. They didn't die because, they didn't die when you didn't have the $1 million. So now you have the $1 million. They're not going to die because you don't give it to them. Okay, they're still going to be there. Nothing's going to happen. Don't tell anyone. Just keep it a secret and hold it there until you actually get a year behind you so that your money and your mind are in balance and at the same level. And then you can go and help your friends and family how you want, okay? Do not brag or show off to people around you that you are now rich to have face. Now, in America, we don't have that problem of having face, but in Vietnam, it is a massive problem. In Thailand, it is a massive problem. In Cambodia, in Laos, and in Asia, it is a massive problem. As soon as people have money, they want to go show off and show off that they have money so they can get face, so they can get credit for it. So they'll go buy cars, go buy Rolex watches, go buy expensive handbags, Louis Vuitton purses, all kinds of nonsense, okay? This will all create unwanted problems while you are trying to preserve your money. Protect your wealth first. Give yourself a year before you make any decision to spend money like that. Trust me on this, guys, and you will not go broke.